guys, I hope you're all doing well. I'm really excited about this video because I'm doing a collaboration with Bridget from the Lettered Classroom. So if you are from her channel, welcome to Too Cool for Middle School. And if you're from my channel, then check out Bridget's video, which I will have linked below. Today we're both talking about how to organize subplans, and I thought it would be interesting to do, these videos from both of our perspectives, because for me, it's for middle school, it's for multiple grade levels and multiple subject areas. And then Bridget teaches kindergarten, and so from her perspective, it's going to be the full day in her classroom with the same kids. I remember when I used to sub, and it was always really hard to sub for elementary because you are just in that same classroom all day long, and you have to do every single subject with them. I always thought those were like harder days than subbing for middle school or high school. And the sub tub, don't they always leave like a sub tub of things to do, like prep work to be done for later or whatever? It seems like I always got one of those. So anyway, if you haven't been to Bridget's channel yet, you're gonna love it. She has like really high quality camera and thumbnails, and like she's really good with the technology side, and she does a lot of actually technology videos for teaching, and then just like a lot of organization videos, lesson planning, stuff like that, especially for elementary. And she even has some vlogs where you can go see her classroom. She lives in Birmingham, Alabama, and like I said, she teaches kindergarten. For both of us, this is our 4th year teaching, so we're like kind of new at it. We feel like we know what we're doing, but we know just enough that we can share tips with you, but then at the same time, like, we're still new enough that we know, like, we're in touch with what's hard and like what are the things that you really need to work out. I feel like I'm kind of a expert on leaving sub plans this year. I think I mentioned this before, but my district is real into training. I don't know where all this money is coming from, but I personally have been pulled out, or by the end of the year, I will have been pulled out 17 times on a school day from my classroom to go to a training, some kind of professional development. And you've probably heard teachers say, it's a lot easier to just go in, even if you're like half dead, and just get through the day rather than make a sub plan for tomorrow and stay home sick. So for those days when you do have to be out, when you really are sick or you get pulled out for some reason, here are some tips for coming back and having your classroom not be destroyed and being able to move on the next day. So first of all, I set up procedures at the beginning of the year, even for substitutes. One thing I do is that I set up a consequence and reward system for when I am out. So the consequence side is that if your name shows up on something, if your name shows up in the sub plans and the sub writes a note to me that you were messing around or you were distracting people or you were talking or you didn't get your work done, you have 2 days of detention, no questions asked. I don't listen to any excuses from any students. I wasn't there, so there's nothing that I can do about it. And if a sub went through the trouble of figuring out your name, finding a piece of paper, writing it down, letting me know what you did, then you were distracting enough to deserve 2 days of detention. And actually at our school, thank goodness, they have a place where kids can go for snack and lunch detention, and I don't have to run it. If I were the one that had to stay after and like observe you while you serve the detention, I probably wouldn't do this. But since it's kind of an easy thing for me to dole out as a consequence, I totally do it. And I also call the parents as well. So I do this really consistently at the beginning of the school year, and then usually it kind of curbs behavior problems, the 2nd, 3rd, 4th month of the year. Not always, but I actually have expressed my concerns to our administration quite a bit this year, and it really helps if your entire administration really backs you up on making sure that kids treat substitutes with respect. And I always tell my students too, I know, sometimes subs are weird. I see the subs, when I am there, and sometimes they're kind of an odd person and they might not know your curriculum and they might not know exactly how to help you, but I always come back to this. They're responsible for you that day, and so you need to give them your respect and you need to do what was asked of you, and don't draw any attention to yourself. This is not the day to try and look cool and to try and show off. What, you're trying to show off in front of this substitute? No one cares, man. But all of us remember middle school and how we treated subs. We were all horrible and like made annoying noises, and I don't know if anybody ever actually put super glue on the seats and stuff like that, but we were all terrible to subs in middle school, but trying to change the pattern for my kids. So in addition to consequences, it's always good to have a reward system too. So if for that period, say for first period, for example, nobody's name got written down, they got a good report, then I'll give them like a point of extra credit or something on the assignment that they had to do. Speaking of assignments that they have to do, when you are out, I think the number one easiest thing to give is a test. Since I've been out so many like pre-scheduled days, I kind of planned my tests to fall on days when I was going to be out for professional development. So my kids have started to notice, like, how come you're never here when we take tests? That's generally something they're going to take pretty seriously, and it doesn't require any instruction on the part of the substitute. Because again, once you're in, like a middle school or high school sub, the curriculum could be totally out of your wheelhouse. You can't really expect your sub to be like instructing your students. They just kind of need to like facilitate whatever you left for them. And I feel like kids can tell when you leave them some meaningless worksheet that isn't really teaching them anything, they're not learning anything, it just doesn't matter. And I've been out so much that it's kind of hard to keep coming up with good things. But again, a test is usually pretty good. Some kind of worksheet that requires the book. I don't leave group work or partner work or anything like that because I'm not sure of the classroom management skills of whatever sub I get. So I just like to leave individual work. Another good thing that you can do is just have something that you consistently do when you have a substitute. So for my English classes, actually, I told them at the beginning of the year, every time I'm out, you're going to do a lesson from your Wordly Wise book, and that's like our vocabulary curriculum. And a lot of times I don't really have time to fit that into my curriculum, but it's a really good thing to kind of, just break up the lessons, break up the units, and I can do those on a day when I have a sub. So at the beginning of the school year, we run through one of those lessons. I show them exactly what I want, exactly where to find the books, and they do that with me. So then by the time I'm out and I have a sub, then I tell them, okay, now you're doing, Wordly Wise lesson 2, these activities, and they already know how to do it. So that's very, very useful. Another thing that I recently did, because again, I've been out so much, is I'm really particular about like my stuff and my room. And so I always ask the subs to have students like stack all the books neatly. I always leave them the name of like one student to be the volunteer. I call it quality control. Like have them go be quality control over where we store the books and stuff and make sure they're all nice. But another thing that I do is I leave a poster in my room that it just says sub rules on it. Because there's sometimes things that maybe subs don't realize are not allowed. So it has 3 rules on it. Number 1 is sit in your assigned seat. And so that's another tip too. Always leave your subs with an updated seating chart. That is like not fair to them if they don't even know who these kids are. And kids always try to like sit in a different seat or like call a different, like when you call roll, like say that they're a different person. Help your sub out, leave them a seating chart. And so then that's the number 1 rule, sit in your assigned seat for the entire period. You do not move. Rule number 2 is do not touch any of Mrs. Forbes' stuff. They already know that my desk is like my cave. Like you do not come near my desk, you do not touch anything on my desk, and I will not let you borrow anything from my desk. If you ask me if you can borrow whiteout or a pen or something, I say no, because I have so many student supplies. I have like cabinets full of student supplies, plastic boxes full of student supplies. Those things are what they can use, and my desk they do not ever touch. You can never ever borrow my scissors, so don't even ask. However, after I've been gone, I tend to find my stapler on the other side of the room, or my tape has been moved or something like that, or my scissors are in a different spot. So maybe the sub just didn't know. Like a kid went up to the sub and asked if they could borrow stuff and they just let them. But that's my number 2 rule. It's posted so kids know not to ask, and then the sub can see like, oh, this is something she doesn't allow. And number 3 is just to read quietly if you finish early, because there's always those kids that just either rush through their work so that they can talk, or kids who just do finish early. And so there's no excuse. If you got done that fast, then you just need to read a book quietly while everybody else finishes or while you wait for the end of the period. So if you're talking and the sub says you need to be quiet, you're like, well, I'm done. doesn't matter. Other people aren't, so you need to be reading. Okay, as far as actually writing the sub-plans, now this seems really obvious, but I did not do this my first couple years of teaching, and now it makes my life so much easier. But I just have a document on my computer that's broken up into a table. Like I created the table at the beginning of the year, and it has like the schedule. So my first period class, for example, is 6th grade English, and so is second period, and then third is 8th grade history, 4th is prep, you know, like it gets really confusing. Like 5th is SSR, last period I have drama in a different classroom, and that's really hard to like type all that up and explain it every time. So I just have that template saved on my computer, and then I can just go in and change the things that I do actually need to update every time that I'm out. So definitely keep a document on your computer that's just labeled sub-plans. I have mine right on my desktop, and every time I'm going to be out, I just click on sub-plans, change the date, change a couple of the boxes, but a lot of the things stay the same, you know, like for first period, it's like do the flag salute, take attendance, there'll be announcements, and then blah, blah, blah. So keep that file on your computer, and then every time I print it out, I actually print it on neon paper just so that it is unmistakable. I just leave it in my classroom on my desk, but I don't want any sub to not be able to find it. And I always do whatever I need to do with font size or margins or whatever to make sure that it fits on one page, because I would hate for it to like be front and back and they just didn't quite see the last thing on the back. I just want it to all be on one page. And then I always have like worksheets and stuff that are going to go with the sub plans, so I put those in a manila envelope, and I use post-it notes to kind of stick out on the side of each stack of worksheets. So like for my 6th grade English stuff, I put a little post-it on it, it says 6th grade English, and then I separate the next stack with another post-it that's for like the 8th grade history stuff. So make your actual sub plans like really easy to find. The folder that I have is even like I colored on it and labeled it like sub folder. I use the same one every time. My sub plans say sub plans right on the top, and they're in neon and everything, so that things are just really clear and there's less of a chance that the stuff I left is not going to get done. My biggest concern with leaving sub plans and being out is always behavior. So I mean, most of my tips are kind of to preemptively manage the behavior in your classroom when you have a sub. So another thing is that you cannot turn in any work late that was done while I had a sub. So I always ask the sub to collect the work at the end of the period, because I want to know exactly how much every student got done. You can't take it home with you and, you know, finish it up later because all you did during class was talk to your friend and distract everybody. So you have to turn it in on that day. And if a kid was absent, I usually just excuse them from it, or like maybe I'll allow them to turn it in late, but everybody else, you have to turn it in. And like there are some things in my class that, you know, they don't always get points for, but if it was something during a sub, you know, especially if it's a test, but if it wasn't a test, then I always put it into, we have School Loop, that's like our grading system. So I put it on School Loop, and I always leave a little like asterisk under the assignment description that says this was done with a sub and cannot be turned in late. Sometimes I'll get emails from a parent like, how come you wouldn't accept this late work when I usually do? And I just tell them, click on the assignment description, and it clearly states that this was not allowed to be turned in late. So if you want to start using any of these tips and like implementing any of these things, I wouldn't do it after you come back from having a sub. I would make sure that you make these expectations clear to your kids before, you know, you end up with the flu. But it's not too late to, you know, implement good policies. You just have to let your kids know that now this is the expectation. And I always kind of let them know, like, look, I don't want to be out either. It's such a hassle for me to be gone. I know it's not a very fun day for you. I understand that. You know, you kind of let them know that you commiserate with them. Like, I know it's a boring day when there's a sub. I know it's hard, but just take advantage of this day. That's the dumbest day to end up with detention. When you have a sub, you weren't even doing anything hard. All you have to do is sit there and get work done. And then when you finish, you could like get all your other homework done and not have any homework that night. Or you could read, or you could draw, or whatever. Like, this is not the day to get in trouble, guys. Come on, this is an easy day. So I think that's all that I've got for you. If you've got any other like brilliant policies that you have whenever you have a substitute, please leave those in the comments below. I think everybody is always looking for like good little tips and tricks for when you're out. It's such a hassle, I know. It's like just better to go in and just suffer through whatever you've got. And again, definitely go check out Bridget's video. I haven't seen it yet. We're like doing it at the same time, so I'm so excited to go check it out. I'm sure it's amazing. And it's kind of interesting for me to see like what elementary school teachers have to do to prepare for a sub too, because their perspective is so different from mine. I know my hair keeps getting shorter and shorter in every single video. I keep messing with it. Why do I keep cutting it? You make terrible hair decisions when you're pregnant. My sister warned me of this, and I didn't listen to her, and at least my husband said I look like J-Lo from when she was a fly girl on In Living Color. I'm like, well, yeah, kinda. I'll take it, I'll take it. Do the Roger Rabbit out of here. So anyway, I hope that you are not sick and you are not watching this because you have to leave a bunch of sub plans. But it's handy information to just kind of have in your back pocket. So anyway, thank you so much for watching my video. Thank you for going and watching Bridget's. I will see you soon in my next video. Bye.